So I was scrolling around YouTube, as you do, and I came across this video that really, really intrigued me. Because sometimes we can overlook certain things, right? And sometimes we can be blindsided by what we believe in, okay? For example, I believe in UFOs, I believe in aliens, and maybe subconsciously or deliberately, I dismiss factors that disprove that, right? I'm just saying that as an example, because I think that we all want to believe what we believe, right? In some degree. I think if you're very passionate about something, I think that's when you really dig your heels in, especially nowadays, okay, where so many people are like divided. But I saw this video, and it's on the Joe Rogan Podcast, and it's called Eric Weinstein, We May Be Faking a UFO Situation, Skepticism Over Current State of UFOs. I thought it was really, really interesting. And I thought, who is this guy? And it's really like, there's not a straight answer who this guy is, right? Eric Weinstein is a mathematician and a frequent public speaker on a variety of subjects within the sciences. He went to Harvard University. He's a mathematician, obviously. And I think he's like an investor as well into businesses or financial things. I mean, I think he's got a good head on his shoulders, but he's come up with this theory, and it's called geometric unity. I haven't looked into it a lot, but apparently it's ruffled a few feathers within the scientist community, okay? A lot of scientists are saying, well, you need to back this up. It's just a theory, obviously. But anyway, whether you know this guy, believe him, don't believe him, agree with him, like him, dislike him, whatever, okay? He's got a theory, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. So I would like to listen to his theory about whether, we may be faking a UFO situation. Because when I read the title, I was like, is this referring to Project Bluebeam, right? Is this referring to the idea that these UFOs now, or the UAPs, are all of a sudden now becoming like normal conversation, where like literally 5 years ago, if you mentioned UFOs and UAPs, or UFOs back then, immediately people would be like, where's your tinfoil hat? But now it's just like common knowledge, okay? Is that a plan to in some way control the human race, control our minds into thinking that there's something here, to thinking there's a threat or something else? Is it something to stop us believing in a god? Or, I mean, the questions can go out everywhere about this, okay? There's thousands of potential reasons why this could be happening. So I thought, let's have a little listen to this dude, okay? Eric Weinstein. I've never heard of him. He's got epic hair, all right? But let's take a little look. And please, I know sometimes if I've featured Joe Rogan, and some people don't like Joe Rogan. I don't know why. I just like the guests that he's on. I'm just interested in the topic, regardless of who's talking. Okay, so let's have a little look and see what we can get from this. Now, I have looked at the comments, and a lot of the comments are saying, first of all, like, I like how he breaks down these hard to explain topics in a way that is impossible to understand. Listening to Eric is like a conversational version of the movie Inception. Instead of the dreams within dreams, it's convolution metaphors within convoluted metaphors. So I don't know whether we're going to get much from this, but we're going to give it a damn good try. All right. Anyway, if you're into aliens, paranormal, UFOs, weird and wonderful things around the world, mate, this is what we cover. Please make sure you subscribe and do the thing. Let's take a little listen to this.
Joe Rogan Experience.
I get occasionally called by somebody from inside. And what I think they're doing, first of all, one, we may be faking a UFO situation for reasons that I don't understand.
If we are faking a UFO situation, do you think that there's technology that's available to people in the United States that is beyond our current understanding of what's possible?
90% no.
90% no.
Because
Wow.
it's very hard. It's very hard to imagine physicists continuing to work on nothing for their entire careers. The number of people who are going to be retiring shortly, having never actually done physics as a physicist. We're talking about wasted lives. People are going to be very weird when they realize that they blew their entire career. And I believe I can say what many of these problems are. And if you want to humiliate me at a leading university, just ask me to talk. You can put it on video. You don't realize how many things the Standard Model has subtly wrong when we explain it to people. It's not that the Lagrangian is wrong, not that the rules are wrong, but we say wrong stuff. We say, like, there are 3 generations that are only of matter that are only distinguished by mass. In other words, there's 3 copies of this stuff here. This is like the wood version, and then there's the plastic version, and then there's the metal version. There aren't 3, there are 2 generations plus an extra imposter generation, which looks like a generation. I mean, I can get into these things. And that should be a provocation that somebody says, let's call this guy up, have him out, and figure out what he's talking about. Doesn't matter. I don't think we're doing physics.
What do you think they're doing?
I think we are playing paintball rather than going to war, and we're giving prizes for generals who command the best paintball army. And then
Is he saying basically like we're throwing out red herrings, right? Instead of actually going to war, we're producing something to say, be careful, right? But hang on, let me just listen.
we're referencing everyone else who's actually trying to figure out how to fight to, well, have you submitted to the paintball competition? It's like, no, I don't want to do paintball. I understand that it keeps your skills up. I understand that some of them are transferable. But I mean, like, you've been in street fights?
Not since I was a teenager.
Yeah, well, I understand. Like, I haven't been for a long time. It's different than what you guys do in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's lots of stuff you're not allowed to do.
Yeah.
Right. You get in a street fight, it's a completely different thing.
Sure.
What we're doing is not physics in the same sense.
So,
okay, so the original question was, are we creating these UFOs? Basically, that's what we're saying. Are we creating these UFOs? This is what Joe said, right? Are we creating them? Are we building this technology? And he's like, no, we're not doing the physics. It's almost like, I think he's saying we're pretending to do the physics. Which also brings me back to a video I did the other day, or yesterday, with like a compilation of UFO sightings. And I think I mentioned it in there, is how long have we... A lot of people say that this is our technology that we're testing out. Well, testing out? How long do we have to test these things out? We've been testing these things out apparently from the 60s, or even before that, right? Since UFOs have been sighted. Oh, that was a test. Okay. How long do you have to test something in order to say, okay, look, we've got this UFO, well, we've got this spaceship, or we've got this ship or craft that can go supersonic speeds. And it doesn't sound. It doesn't make sound, and it can do this, and it can whatever.
what they're doing is
We're doing safe stuff.
Exercising.
Yeah, exactly.
they're exercising.
And the exercises
Thanks,
are
Joe. Right. Okay, we're exercising. We're right. Okay.
keeping people limber. They're keeping
Hang on, listen.
exactly.
They're exercising.
And the exercises are keeping people limber. They're keeping people in a fighting mentality. It's not that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has nothing to do with fighting. We've seen people use it in the street for sure, right? But small joint manipulation is part of street fighting. Eye gouging is part of street fighting. Pulling a knife is part of street fighting. These things are not part of any reputable gym that you might go to. So I want to do the thing that isn't paintball. And I didn't want to do it up until recently because the danger of unleashing a neutron on the world is so high. Now I realize I'm done with that. You guys are willing to play footsies with Putin? You're not going to survive. You're not the responsible adults I thought you were. Like, if I unleash a neutron and it leads to some sort of proliferation of deadly technology, it's on you. It's not on me. You're already taking risks that you shouldn't be taking.
So,
my God, mate. Okay. Right. I know this is probably hard to follow. Or some of you might be going, Ben, what's wrong? This is fucking simple. He was talking about neutrons, right? And I think he was referring to, or it made me think about something that he's also tapped in on, is the CERN collider, the neutron, the collider thing, because he's done a speech on that, I think, or he's got an opinion on that.
Oh, if you think 90% sure that this is not coming from here, you believe this because you don't think that the proper science in order to achieve these kind of results is being done by the people that you believe are capable of doing it?
That is correct. I know that, for example, when I talk to Nima, or when I talk to Juan Maldacena, or when I've talked to Natty Seiberg, these people are absolutely brilliant, and they don't know the answer unless they're the greatest actors I've ever seen.
So the most brilliant physicists are looking at these supposed videos. What is the best, most compelling?
No. Sorry, that's the UFO stuff.
What are you talking about then?
They're not talking about things that can extend Einstein.
Right.
Therefore, to get back to your technology question, might have engineering applications, because it's the engineering applications that are terrifying.
Right.
The discovery of the neutron was one thing. The Teller-Ulam design was its weaponization. So suddenly, you can do the Tsar bomb or Castle Bravo, these unbelievable explosions, which, like, the difference between there were Civil War veterans who saw action in the Civil War who lived to see Ivy Mike in the Pacific. So the Civil War was almost a thermonuclear war in terms of human scale. It's less than 100 years different. People have forgotten how terrifying, important, wonderful, jaw-dropping, and awesome physics is because it hasn't done anything that...
Spoken by a true nerd.
Wonderful, jaw-dropping, and awesome physics is because it hasn't done anything that completely screws your mind.
Like Hiroshima or Nagasaki.
Or Castle Bravo.
What's Castle Bravo?
That was the test in the Pacific where we thought it was going to be like controlled and like, or what is it, Starfish, where we did an atmospheric explosion over Hawaii, and then the Russians like, hold my beer, Nova Zemlya.
Yeah.
We remember, I'm the guy 5 years ago who was saying we need above ground nuclear tests because all you people have lost your fear. Like, yes, Eric is crazy, but he's correct.
What's this one? That's Castle Bravo. Oh my God.
Right. Like,
so they detonated in that facility and they expected it to be far smaller than it was?
They detonated in the Pacific.
Right.
My God, man.
But it's right next to that facility.
Who gives people the right to do that, right? Who did they ask to do that? They didn't ask us.
That was in the video.
Yeah.
Was that the facility that was initially filmed? Like,
yeah.
What is this facility?
That's it. Was it Inawak? I forget. Atoll. So, like,
it's crazy how long ago that was and how close it was to the Civil War, if you really put it in that context.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say is what I'm trying to tell you.
Look at that. That's so insane.
Have you done this in Oculus?
No, I have not.
I highly recommend, if they're not going to let us do a nuke above ground so that we can save ourselves by fear.
Oh, look at that.
I've done that in Oculus, mate. In fact, you can look at my videos, and I've done that in the Oculus. He's talking about the VR, like the headset, and you can actually see it. You're on a beach, and you can see it, and then it's crazy experience.
Right, this is religious stuff, Joe.
Yeah, it is religious.
Like,
stuff.
we have announced, if somebody is listening to these tests that we did, My belief is very shortly before you get the ability to traverse the cosmos, if that is possible, you let off a nuke. Right? It's like, you've had kids. There's some stuff that happens right before they figure out how to break out of the crib.
That's part of UFO folklore too. Fat Man and Little Boy. That's a big part of UFO, that once they dropped those, that's when all the UFOs started appearing.
So the question is the analogy I give, so I talked to Avi about the following thing. I am a fan of something I call the...
I'm trying here, guys. I really am trying. I feel so stupid listening to this. I really do. I'm trying. So he said at the beginning 90% no, because Joe asked the question, do you believe this is our technology? And he's saying 90% no. We're literally like, and he says we're paintballing, as opposed to actually having a real fight. So we're basically scratching the surface of the potential technology that could be out there. I think this is what he's getting at.
Doubly scientific method. The usual thing, I am a fan of something I call the doubly scientific method. The usual scientific method makes a hidden assumption that it never voices, which is if we're going to study orcas, we assume that we are smarter than orcas. Or if we're going to study cephalopods, right, like an octopus, we think we're smarter. And what do? We disguise ourselves. We create artificial environments. We do all sorts of crazy things based on the fact that we're smarter than what we study, from everything from rocks to orcas. The doubly scientific method says, okay, assume that you're studying a rat in a maze, but you yourself are the rat in somebody else's maze. Now you have to look up the intelligence scale, not just down. And in the doubly scientific method, you have to assume that whatever is studying you is hiding from you the way you are hiding from your subjects.
Oh,
so
okay.
If you see somebody in a duck.
Oh, okay. Right. So he's basically saying that if potentially there is alien life, they are hiding because they're studying us, right?
Blind, for example, and he's studying ducks. You understand that somebody may be hiding from you. And they might be able to use multiple dimensions of time. They might be able to cloak themselves and disguise themselves. Or, for example, if you take microscopic UFOs, this cup has a radius of r and a circumference of 2 pi r. The disk that it spans is pi r squared in area. But if you look at this cup, it's much larger than pi r squared because we pushed it out. You could have a sphere where if you could cheaply engineer space-time, not through the Einstein field equations, but through the successor theory that recovers Einstein, you could have an entire stadium inside of a tennis ball. Just the way this...
Okay. Right. Okay.
Cup doesn't blow your mind until you realize that its area is much greater than pi r squared. Why look for a giant floating thing in the sky? If you could bend space and time and you could play with the rulers the way I'm saying, I would put this in a tiny little profile.
Whoa. So we're only looking at it in terms of our understanding of the distance between objects, planets, gravity. We're looking at that. All that stuff where if it didn't exist, if somehow or another we lived in some contained environment and we had no concept of space whatsoever, and then we gained access to it, we would be unbelievably overwhelmed. If you lived in some sort of underground facility your entire life,
love this,
and then one day you got a chance to go outside and see the Keck Observatory in Hawaii in a clear night with no moon, you would be overwhelmed.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's a good point. And it also goes with like your human potential as well. Wasn't there a test that they did with fleas or something, where they put fleas into a jar, right? And fleas can jump fucking meters, right? Or however long. It's a lot. And at the beginning, they're hitting the top of this jar, okay? And then after a while, they're jumping, and they're not hitting the top because they've just told themselves that they can't jump that high. Man, metaphor after metaphor, bars on top of bars.
Wouldn't be able to believe clear night with no moon. You would be overwhelmed. You wouldn't be able to believe that the world was as big as it really was, or that the universe was as big as it was.
Yeah, it's an impedance mismatch. If you watch meteor showers the way my family does, it's religious. It's transformational. It's transcendent. Yeah. The problem, as you know, from the default mode network, right, is that mostly what your brain is doing is not communicating information, but screening. Right, your eyes, your fovea is precious because that's the thing that can resolve at very high levels.
Yeah.
But like, I can barely see Jamie out of the corner of my eye because my peripheral vision can't be at the same level as my fovea. I'd be overwhelmed.
Right.
So we're talking about tapping in to a picture of the world that we are not. Our brain is not prepared for the idea that time is multidimensional. That was the whole point of giving Lex another watch. We don't have a way to think about, I'll meet you at 5:15 and 12:30, according to two different scales of time. Or, for example, time and space, if I'm correct, the 14-dimensional manifold that has all the quantum going on it is split probably 7 and 7 dimensions because we have 6 extra time dimensions and 4 extra space. Add 6 to 1 and 3 to 4 and you get 7. So space and time are interchangeable. There's a duality between them. All of this stuff is like, okay, it's how you hit on chicks in a bar. Hey, let me tell you something about space and time you never thought about.
Oh my God, does that work?
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, whatever, mate. I'm pretty sure that wouldn't work. I wouldn't use it anyway, mate.
Worked for me. That's why I'm not in better shape.
So do you think, now when you were talking about these people that keep mananaing you and not giving you access to whatever they're talking about, do you think they're talking about some sort of an engineering solution to this type of technology?
I haven't met anyone in striking distance in 3 years.
So how could they have something that you don't, that's going to change your way of looking? Is it possible that you've missed something?
I can just be wrong, first of all. Like, this is my life's work.
What's
right?
the way they phrased it to you?
Which part?
The part about it changing the way you see the world.
Oh, Eric, I'll complain about data and like, that's not the data we have. What we've been showing the public is downsampled, meaning that it's fuzzier, it's low resolution. Like, how clear is it? As clear as you want. How clear are you that there's something to see? You can see it with your own eyes. There's no question.
Dude, if I was you, I'd just shut the fuck up and let them show me. I'd be like, let's go.
I'm not under any NDA.
I know, but I'm saying.
Mate, this is... Have I just totally missed something here? So... I think what I shouldn't have done, I shouldn't have read the title, because the title is "We May Be Faking a UFO Situation." So I'm still trying to work out whether he's saying it's just a contradiction in the title, because everything it sounds like he's saying is we have evidence of something that we can't even fathom, understand, right? And he's saying we can see it, it's right there, but we're showing the universe, but we're showing the world basically a low resolution where we're drip feeding the public what's really out there. I think that's what he's getting at. We're drip feeding. So I think what he's saying is there is absolutely UFO technology out there which isn't us, that we don't understand and we can't see, but it is definitely out there. And people know that it is because they have seen it, but they're not allowing us to see it yet. They're drip feeding us. Hence why it goes back to we're playing paintball instead of actually going into war. I just wish he'd fucking speak like normally, you know? I totally agree with the comments. Making me, I mean, I'm not the most intelligent person in the world, but I'm not fucking stupid.
But you want to know.
I want to know.
Yeah, but I want to know in a different... Look, my life's work is a theory. It's one theory. My entire life is really about one theory, okay? Like I do this entertainment thing and I talk to people and all this stuff. Bullshit. Really what I am is an academic who realized that you can't do academics inside of the university system and watch it disintegrate into madness as we speak. I figured this out a long time ago. I want to know whether this is right or wrong so much better, so much more than I want to know whether UFOs exist. UFOs, to me, are an indication of whether I'm right or wrong. You see, it's data. It's an input to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because
so if you're right, that means...
If we have a future, it means we can leave not the planet, but the solar system. We can explore. The cosmos are traversable. If we can leave, anything else can visit. If you look at the entirety of the universe and you imagine that ultimately there are societies that destroy themselves because they get atomic...
Okay. So, basically, if we can get the technology so we can leave, like, this cosmos anywhere, then that must mean that the technology, that could happen, right? As in, it's possible, I should say. It's possible. If we could do that, that means it's possible. And if it's possible, it means that other technologies, other worlds could potentially have that technology already and already be here with us, I think.
Weapons before they figure it. There are societies that look at the entirety of the universe and you imagine that ultimately there are societies that destroy themselves because they get atomic weapons before they figure out how to leave. Some societies are smarter than that. And they'll be able to leave and colonize the cosmos. And for them not to be here would be madness.
Oh my God, man. What? I'm just looking through all of the comments and they're just basically 99% of them are basically saying how he's saying a lot of nothing. He's a master at saying a lot of nothing and getting to no point, but also saying that fair props to Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan's got a skill in itself of how he can just listen to that and, you know, work out what he's saying. This man is the best of the best at saying everything and saying nothing at the same time. Like I say, I basically think that he was saying that there is UFO life. There is UFOs. There's UFOs that are here everywhere, but we're being drip fed the visuals. It's just weird though how it says we may be faking UFO situation skepticism over current state of UFOs. But didn't he just basically say that he agrees? Because he's spoken to somebody. He literally spoken to somebody and said, we can see things. It's just like crazy. You can't imagine it. But we're showing the public like the low resolution version of it. So why would the title be, we may be faking UFO situation, skepticism over current state of UFOs? So it must be saying then that, yeah, it's skepticism and we're faking it because the images that the government are showing us are literally nothing in comparison to what they've actually got. Is that it? I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, mate. Please help us out on this one, okay? Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
the merch at Caspersight.com. Just Rambo it.